Welcome to another episode of SportsVibe, episode 79. I'm your host, Arnav Sarkar here. Happy to bring Eliot back to the show. We had him on a couple weeks ago. Really good episode. Believe we talked some Rutgers basketball. We talked a lot of NFL, college football. Last week I did my episode on, recapping the championship game with Ohio State winning. We talked about the divisional round, all four games from that. So then previewed these conference championships. So this week, kind of more NFL focused. We could actually throw in some Rutgers basketball too because they had a game at MSG. Just to get a little update with that. But we'll save that for the end of the episode. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, let's start with these championship games. First of all, Commanders versus Eagles.
Eagles were fully dominant. I would say Saquon had some big runs and he got them touchdowns.
No
Eagles
doubt.
defense was able to force turnovers. I think they had like 4.
Yeah.
And it was never really close. Philly
Mm.
just ran up the score, you can say.
Oh, it was rough. For anyone
Yeah.
who's not rooting for the Eagles, it got ugly. But no, I think you summed it up really well. Yeah, I mean the Eagles they look good. I feel like they've gotten better as the playoffs have gone on. The first week of the playoffs, they look really rusty. People are not even sure if they're gonna make it out of the next round.
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts has been passing for
Hurts was
100.
banged up versus the Rams.
Exactly, that too. He's been
In the
injured.
Packers game, their offense didn't look like they were functioning
No,
properly.
they
They were
really
still able
didn't.
to win both games and
Jalen
make it
Hurts
to
had
the Super
100.
Bowl.
Yeah, he had 100.
Saquon's been able to carry them, and it makes Giants fans feel bad.
Yeah. Jalen Hurts had 131 in passing yards in the first game. He had 128 yards in the second game,
And then
behind a really
246 in the Washington game.
exactly. He really turned up the heat. Saquon Barkley's been great the entire time. He had
Yeah,
131
15
or
carries,
119 in the first
yards,
one.
and 3
Yeah,
touchdowns. But his first touchdown in the Washington game was 60
60
yards,
yarder.
and then it
Yeah.
was a 4-yard run for his second touchdown.
hmm Yeah,
And
he
then
went
he
off.
also scored
He
in
went
the
off.
fourth quarter. That was also a 4-yard run.
Right. Yeah. 119 in the Packers game. After they decided to sit him for not, he could have probably got that rushing record, but they wanted to keep him healthy for the playoffs, obviously.
Yeah.
Giants still lost the game anyway, thankfully. So Saquon had 119 against the Packers. He had 205 and 2 touchdowns against the Rams, including both of them were long ones too, 62 yards,
Yeah.
78. Jalen Hurts had a 44-yarder. There's a lot of big plays, and then
That's what he's been doing the whole season.
exactly. It's been hitting home runs. And then in this game, he started the game with, as you mentioned, the 60-yard touchdown.
Yup, that was Eagles' first play from scrimmage. And
Yeah, unbelievable. They had a good kick return. They got to the 40. And then Saquon from there, just took off. And
Yeah,
then,
and
like
before
you
that,
said, yeah.
Washington's first drive, it took them a long
I
time.
know it took them a long time,
They had a
multiple
long
fourth down
drive going, was
conversions.
only able to get 3 points, and then Eagles took
They
one
wiped it all
play,
away with
8 seconds.
the Commanders had multiple fourth down conversions. Then they ended up going for 3 anyway. I guess they just wanted to get in a field goal range, set the tone. But then the Eagles just wiped that away with snap their fingers. They just went for a touchdown, scored another touchdown. The Commanders were still in the game though at that point. Zane Gonzalez had another field goal, then a touchdown. Terry McLaurin, who I've always really liked as a receiver.
Yeah, he's a
30.
solid wide receiver.
Yeah, very solid. 36-yard passing touchdown from Daniels, and then they couldn't get the 2 points. And then the Eagles went down and scored. Jalen Hurts got in, didn't get the 2-pointer. And then again, the big difference I think in this game was fumbling, because each time I felt like the Commanders had a chance, they messed up, they fumbled the ball.
Definitely.
The Eagles took advantage. They scored a touchdown off of the fumble. So instead of Washington potentially tying the game or at least cutting it to a touchdown or a field goal, they could have scored either tied it at 20 or 18, 19, or even 15. But instead of that, Eagles get the ball right back. I think McNichols was the one who fumbled that time. AJ Brown converts the touchdown. The passing game got going for Philly, like you said, like 246 yards, 20 for 28, a touchdown, big plays. And then Washington was able to hit a field goal right before the end of the first half, seeing Gonzalez. Like, they're able to drive down and set themselves up nicely. So we're like, okay, they might have a chance.
3-0 Washington first, and then Eagles had the 2 touchdowns, both Saquon runs. And then Washington was able to make it 14-12. And then Philly scored again. And then the field goal, like you said, at the end of the half for Washington. So it was 27-15. And then Eagles scored, Washington scored. It was 23-34. And then Eagles just scored 21 straight to run away.
Yeah, kind of like, like you said, like, the Eagles opened it up, Jalen Hurts. So it was kind of a little bit of, they both got stops on defense. Washington got them stopped, but then Eagles got them stopped. And then the Eagles ended up scoring anyway. And then Washington actually answered back, and I'm like, okay, they're in the game. They got a 2-point conversion, get the ball back, but then they fumbled again. And it was like, just as they were like starting to get close to like maybe scoring again, making this a 1-possession game, they fumble. And, the Eagles get the ball back, and that's pretty much like how, like the hope for Commanders went out the window, like at that point.
Washington's going to be a problem for years to come, though. This was only the first year with Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I mean, appreciation for them. I mean, what they did, like 4-12 a year ago, 14-6, they finished the season, 2 wins in the postseason. They beat the number 1 seed Detroit. They beat Tampa. They go into Philadelphia. They obviously didn't work out too well, but I mean, Jaden Daniels, unreal. I mean, the team around him, not bad. I mean, Zach Ertz had 104 yards. I mean, they have, their defense gave up 55, but overall, like this season, just a big turnaround. They've done a lot of great things.
Snyder and bringing in the new ownership group, really.
Yeah, exactly. They turned around the entire franchise. I mean, it's made such a big difference. They've got good players to complement. They got Daniels. They got good players. They've complemented their guys.
Solid head coach.
Yeah, solid head coach.
He sold in the Super Bowl 8 years ago, was
Dan
it?
Quinn, right, with the Falcons. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, Brian Robinson, Eckler. Ertz had a good game. I mean, I like Terry McLaurin, as I said, De'Ami Brown. Their tight end, pretty good. They're both of them, actually, Ertz and Bates. But, I mean, they have a lot of guys.
Seahawks legend.
Yeah, Bobby Wagner, exactly. And then they got, Sane was still on defense.
Marshawn Lattimore, him and A.J. Brown were going at it. And
then, of course, you got to shout out, Frankie Louvu. He's a dog, as people say. But let's talk about that sequence in the fourth quarter. Anyway, like the Commanders cut the lead to 10 or 11.
Yeah,
and 11, they were threatening to score. They fumble, and then and then the Eagles drive down the field. And this was just bizarre because then Frankie Louvu was jumping over the line. First of all,
there was a lot of them.
A lot of that. Because it was it was a very bizarre sequence of football because, I mean, it was just one thing after the other. They first of all, the tush push was stopped multiple times. On the 2-point conversion, it was stopped, I believe, and then on the first down and goal, they stopped it, but then they ended up just running it again. So then the Commanders, out of ways to stop the 2-point conversion, just started jumping over the line and Frankie Louvu, and each time they did that,
and then the ref was even like, if Washington keeps doing this,
they're gonna award a score. It was so funny because I was watching the first time. I got so upset, I was like, why would he jump over the line? I was, but then when I realized why they were doing it, then he did it again, and then then they're like, if he continues to do it, they're gonna award a score. Then a different player, I think, ends up doing, because they were running the clock all the way down too. They were trying to get them to jump. They weren't even snapping it until the end. They were waiting, and then so then anyway, so they. Louvu jumped over line twice, then a different player does that. It was so funny because everyone was just the Commanders are just wasting time, and they were just trying to prevent the Eagles. I don't know what they were really thinking, if that was going to work or not, but they ended up just kept doing it anyway. They're trying to get the Eagles to run a different play, basically. And the Eagles were like, no, we're just gonna keep running it because it works, and you have to stop it 4 times, I guess, is if it doesn't work. It's like you're in a no-win situation when you're defending that play, because most of the time it's automatic. It's automatic as it gets. But now the Commanders actually stopped it, but guess the Eagles just ended up rerunning the play. So then the Commanders try to jump off over the line, and then they're like, they could just reward a score. And I was getting so frustrated. I was just like, why don't they just jump over the line until they award a score? But, we could just spare ourselves from like this madness. But they didn't do that. So they kept their calm, and they didn't jump. But then the Eagles scored anyway. So like 2 minutes went off the clock, and it was, I guess, whoever wasn't frustrated and I guess was able to enjoy it. And looking back on it, I do think it was pretty funny. And I do like Lou for that, because I don't like the Eagles. So whatever gets in their way, I do like that. And I thought it was pretty funny, but it's just like this tush push thing. Like what are we supposed to do? It's just like, it's like one of those things, now like
You
people
just
are
gotta
going
time it perfectly to jump over and
to
try
jump over. Yeah, you have to, when they snap it, you got to jump over. It's like we'll talk about the Josh Allen sneak and how that got stopped and a little bit
Yeah,
later, but
I'll have something to say about
yeah,
that.
yeah, we'll get to that. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, like, because all this time it's automatic and it's frustrating, but you're just like, whatever, they're gonna run it and they're gonna get it. Now, Washington actually stopped it, but that didn't stop them from running it, and it just got bizarre. And anyway, what happened? I was like, really in the moment, I was heated. Looking back at it, I thought it was kind of funny. But after that, Washington's momentum was completely gone. They went 4-and-out, or was it four? I think 4-and-out. They turned the ball over. Saquon Barkley scored on a 4-yarder, and then Will Shipley broke through like the Washington defense too. And it was just like,
Is
it was
that
just
like the
bizarre.
backup running back on Philly?
Yeah, the backup running back for the Eagles,
Gotcha.
former Clemson guy. But yeah, anyway, he like looked like Saquon Barkley, like running down the hall there, and I was just like, what is going on? Like this defense really, like I think Giants fans like have a gripe now with like Washington. They're gonna be like, you allow 55 points and 3 fumbles like the next time, but they're still way better than we are. But it's just like I'm pretty sure like a lot of Giants fans and probably even Cowboys fans and the rest of the league were all rooting for Washington. Like even the Empire State Building was rooting for Washington, because as much as they don't like the Commanders, I think they don't like the Eagles. And now we can kind of feel like the Washington Commanders like let us down, but also the Eagles
Nah,
are
they didn't let
not
us
really
down.
though. But they're also just a really good team, and they like
They're
I mean
just
they,
getting started in Washington.
yeah, it's not like they
Big
let us
time
down. I
players
mean
will
they
want to
are.
play there soon.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah, I mean, yeah, they didn't really let us down, because they weren't
Yeah,
like
like
the
this season,
yeah,
people
they didn't
didn't
let
expect
anyone down.
much of
They
Washington.
they overachieved their expectations. They went way farther than
People
anyone thought.
thought
And
Washington was just going to rebuild, but then Jaden Daniels had it going,
no,
and
unbelievable.
yeah, he's
Yeah.
going to be rookie of the year, I would say.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, he
Um,
was great, and Commanders were great, and I'm just joking. I mean, obviously they didn't really let us down, but it just looked really bad. But I mean, the thing to remember is that Washington, obviously they were the underdogs. They weren't the favorites. I'm a little disappointed with 55 points and 3 fumbles. I don't think that was necessary, but at the same
yeah,
time, Washington, they did their best, and they had a heck of a season, and props to them. And I really hope like the Giants like could take notes from that, and like maybe even the Jets, because like but like, and how you could turn things around. But with the quarterback, and they really put a good blueprint together. And yeah, the Giants and Commanders have been at the bottom of the division a while, and oftentimes they probably do root for each other if they're not playing like each other. Obviously they might see more sympathy in the other team. But this Eagles team, though, I mean, like 55 points, like that was just insane. And
definitely.
what, yeah, we'll preview the Super Bowl but in a second. But like, I mean, what a heck of a performance. Saquon Barkley was good, but the passing offense was good. The defense forced 3 fumbles. I mean, you have to tip your cap to them, because I didn't think I thought they'd win, but I didn't think they'd like blow out like a good Commanders team like that. Like, the Chiefs have to be ready for this, because this team is like locked and loaded, and they are ready to go. So I mean, obviously they're not going to put up 55 on Kansas City, but their offense is like rearing to go. Their defense is solid. Like, I mean, this is as good as an Eagles team is. They're better than the team that made it there 2 years ago. I'll just say that much.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of sums it up. I guess that's about as much Eagles praising you're gonna hear from me, but they are a heck of a team. And another heck of a team or a heck of a game, I should say. The Chiefs-Bills game, 32-29, Kansas City.
Yeah, that game was back and forth. The
It was
score
back
kept
and forth.
changing, leads were changing.
Yeah, I mean, we could just go through the the play sheet or the scoring summary and just talk about different things. But I mean, the Chiefs set the tone. I think Kareem Hunt and obviously,
12-yard touchdown run,
yeah,
yup,
the
with
12-yard
7-10
touchdown.
lead,
Yeah, it was a good
and
tone
Buffalo had a
setter.
field goal
And then they took the lead.
with the touchdown, James Cook, 6-yard run,
Right, and
and
then
then
yeah,
Worthy scored to
Worthy
make it
11-yarder.
14-10. Mahomes ran it in for a yard touchdown run, made it 21-10. And
Mm-hmm.
then Buffalo scored and failed a two-point conversion
Right.
before halftime, so they were
Yeah.
down 21-16. And then they scored on a James Cook 1-yard touchdown run and failed a two-point
Yeah, they
conversion, so they
did.
were up one. And then Mahomes ran it in for another running touchdown, but this time 10 yards. And then they got a two-point conversion, so they were up seven. And then Josh Allen found Curtis Samuel for a 4-yard touchdown pass to tie the game. And then, yeah, the Chiefs had that field goal to
The game
win,
winner.
and
Yeah.
Buffalo got turnover on downs.
Yeah, kind of a rough one. But it was a really good game for both teams. Like usual, like these always tend to be really
Yeah.
good. They come down to the wire. We've seen the Bills win them in the regular season. The Chiefs turn it up in the postseason. But yeah, like I said, Chiefs. Kareem Hunt set the tone in the first quarter. The go ahead 12-yard touchdown. With Isaiah Pacheco coming from injury, I mean, I definitely love Isaiah Pacheco, but he's
Yeah,
really taken
Pacheco's
the
the only Chief I like since he went to
yeah for
Rutgers.
Rutgers
Otherwise, I
Chief
hate the
exactly.
Chiefs.
Yeah, he helped. It made it easier to root for the Chiefs. Being from Rutgers and everything, Although for me it's like an Eagles thing, but I do like him and he runs really hard. Like we've seen that since the Rutgers when he played at Rutgers, like how hard he runs. Like it's just like he plays on the Chiefs, and I love like telling people that he used to run that way when he was here at Rutgers. And Kareem Hunt, another guy who's also a
Yeah,
good
I don't
physical runner
remember
as
his
well.
Rutgers days since I only became like a Rutgers football fan when I became a student
Right.
there.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I was like, I guess
I went to like
like
two
being a
Rutgers games
senior
when I
and
was
stuff.
younger,
Yeah.
like a long time ago, but yeah,
No, that
I
makes
only
sense
got
because
into them when I became a student because, like I was forced into it in a way.
kind of, yeah, exactly. Kind of same with me too, and like especially I think like doing band and like doing radio, like kind of being around the football team, especially going to games and
Yeah.
stuff with the band, like seeing it up close, like it really got me interested. And yeah, I mean, I saw Pacheco, I saw like the team kind of come up to where they are now, and like when they used to suffer and be go 4-8 and only win one
Yeah.
in conference to like now they're at least competing in a lot better bowl games, like we talked about like previously. The offense looks a lot better. I mean, they've been hitting the portal really hard. The defense looks,
Yeah, and
like
one
pretty
guy's the
good.
next Pacheco. We can call him
Yeah, exactly. He's the
Pacheco
next,
2.0.
pretty much another hard runner. Can make guys
Exactly.
miss, fights through contact. I'm excited. Cam Miller from Penn State. I think that's going to be like a heck of an addition.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
Jet Elaine from UNLV.
yeah, and then like Eric O'Neal, like from JMU, like they're doing a lot of work in the
DT
portal.
Sheffield, the wide receiver.
Sheffield from Texas. Yeah, no, there's a lot of great players, but in terms of this game, I mean, yeah, Pacheco, I don't think he's really been himself since the injury. But Kareem Hunt's done a nice job in taking his place. 17 carries for 64 yards and a touchdown here. Although the Bills did a good job of shutting down the run game after that. Like they kept
Yeah,
running into the line, like kind of sort
their
of though. But
defense wasn't that great. The Bills
you don't
during
think
the
so? Because I
postseason,
remember like
but
Hunt,
they
they
were
kept
able
running into
to
the
after the Chiefs scored and then the Bills got the field goal. We were able to force a fumble and then score, but yeah, I couldn't
right.
get that
Yeah,
many turnovers
I
like the
thought that was
Baltimore game.
Yeah, I thought that was a big swayer. Like the Chiefs could have really taken command of the game and went up seven. Um, excuse me, they could have went up 14-7, right? And then the Bills got the fumble, which hardly ever happens with the Chiefs. But they got the fumble and then they scored a touchdown. And then the Chiefs answered back. And they got two touchdowns in a very like quick succession. So I guess the Bills punted, and
Yeah,
I guess we thought the Chiefs might have had control there, but then the Bills came back. Beautiful pass from Josh Allen to Mac Hollins. they couldn't get the two. Kind of the key here is they missed two 2-point conversions that could have probably put them
Yeah.
over the lead. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it was a good game. I mean, the Chiefs on their side, like I was happy to see them use their weapons. Like Xavier Worthy had 85 yards and a touchdown. Kareem Hunt, like I said, 64 yards and a touchdown. Kelsey was quiet. He didn't really have a big game. Last game he had a really big game. This game not so much. But even Juju Smith-Schuster, 2 yards, 2 catches, 60 yards. Hollywood Brown, three
Yeah,
catches,
Kelsey only
35,
had 2 catches,
2 for
19 yards.
19. Yeah, exactly. He wasn't as big of a focus, but the Chiefs have so many different guys that could beat you. And then Mahomes even had some rushing yards. He had a couple of rushing touchdowns, which we haven't seen in a while. He just went around the
Yeah, he wasn't
formation
running the ball much when the Bills beat the Chiefs in the
in the
regular
regular.
season. So
Right.
I
Yeah.
guess that
He
was the
ran.
game changer. Him running the
Yeah.
ball, scoring twice, doing that.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, the first one was a short one, and then the second one a little bit longer, the 10 yard. But yeah, using his legs there to get into the end zone, and they got the 2-point conversion too. And then the Bills tied it. Some other things to talk about from that game, like James Cook. I thought the Bills really they ran the ball well. Like that one drive when they just ran the ball, like they really showed the command of the line of scrimmage. Like I mentioned, they were able to kind of limit the run game when the Chiefs were trying to do it, force them to throw. When they were running the ball, it seemed like no one had an answer for James Cook, and but they did, unfortunately, like have an answer for the Josh Allen, like their version of the tush push, like whatever you guys
yeah,
call that, like their quarterback sneak. And Josh Allen's a physical guy. Like usually they don't even have to do a tush push. He could just run by almost like by himself, a little bit of a push. But I think the Chiefs noticed a tendency for him to go over the left guard, and they kind of met him at the left side. So they stopped that one time, and then I think the controversial one was the one where they stopped him on fourth down. Like I thought he had it. I'll just say that.
yeah.
I think
At
a lot of
first,
people
I
thought he
thought
had it.
Josh crossed, but then Chiefs were kind of pushing them back, and you know how the refs,
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
always going to help
If
them
it's like
out.
borderline, it's gonna be like the Chiefs. So like it was like one ref said it was good, and the other one said it wasn't. Like I don't know. Like I think his body was kind of over the line or at the line at least. The ball, I don't know where. It was hard to see where it was. It's like once you mark the ruling, it's hard to overturn because you don't have conclusive evidence to. So if they ruled it a first down, they couldn't have overturned it. Since
Yeah,
they didn't rule it first down, really hard to overturn. Like I would say the ball was like at the line. It wasn't really over the line. It was like at the line. He was like just like at the line to gain, but absolutely no further. Which so that's why they cannot say it was like a first down because I think his body was over the line, but or part of it. But like I don't know where the football was really over the line. It might have been right behind. But I mean
yeah,
I thought it was good. I thought he had the line to gain because I think usually if it is at the line, if it's borderline, if it's at the line, you give it to him even if it's not further. But in this case, they ruled against it. They said he wasn't over the line or the ball was not over the line. They give the Chiefs the first down, and if the Bills ended up getting the first down, I think they go on and win because they have the command of the run game, and I think that's
yeah,
so important. Like I think that's what they basically did in the first matchup. Like it was a fourth down. Josh Allen ran it himself, scored a touchdown. I think the Bills had the command of the run game that I think really could have made a difference, but they give the Chiefs the ball, and like it still wasn't over at that point though. Like I think that it still wasn't over. So the Chiefs they score a touchdown. The Bills now respond, they score a touchdown. And they get the extra point. So now we're tied. Again, it was a fourth down conversion play. So then you think, okay, so then the Chiefs get the ball back. Like maybe if they score a touchdown, you think maybe it's over. But they end up getting held to like a field goal. Harrison Butker, 35-yarder, because the Bills did a good job holding them out of the end zone. So it was almost like kind of like where we were with Rutgers, Virginia Tech. Like Rutgers like goes up by 3, Virginia Tech has the ball all the time. But in this case, the Bills actually at 333, but I mean, I don't know. The Chiefs defense in that situation was just like supreme. Like like they didn't even like allow like much of a fourth down like heave attempt. Like they brought the like Steve Spagnuolo, like what those blitz packages. Like I don't know how he like plans that out or like what he does exactly, but he knows how to disguise coverage. He ended up bringing the house on the right side of the line where the defenders were. The offensive line I think went to the left side, and then they ended up bringing the pressure on the right, and it was just a mess. Josh Allen actually got a pretty good throw off. Kincaid almost caught it. dropped it off angle, and yeah, the Chiefs were basically able to run out the clock, get a few
Yeah,
first downs, and that's basically how that won. I thought like if Buffalo, like I thought like basically, the Bills would be able to match the Chiefs, because usually it happens the other way around, right? Like where the Chiefs have one more shot and then they go ahead and they score and they get the go ahead touchdown, or there's like it's a shootout and they run out of time. This time the Bills like had the last move basically, because like the Chiefs left them plenty of time, and maybe you can even argue that the Chiefs would get the ball back again, but in this case, like you limit them to 3, you think the Bills can either score a touchdown or at least get a field goal and force overtime. But I mean, the defense, I think like the offense for the Chiefs definitely stepped up. They had 32, which is the most they've had all season. But the defense has really been winning them games, and I think they deserve like a heck of a lot of the credit for that. And I think the end of the game sequence, I think that really showed why, because like they put pressure, they forced incompletions. Then they brought all the pressure, and they couldn't even get off a good pass attempt, and it was just like wow, like what I mean. It was just one of those things, like so yeah, I think that 2 years ago the Chiefs offense was like what was elite, like really elite, and then last year kind of became the defense because they didn't really have that many receiver. This year it's kind of been like even more like the defense. I feel like the defense has even gotten even better somehow, and the offense has kind of been doing just enough. But it feels like the Chiefs have done just enough all year to win games, whether they're bad
definitely.
teams, good
Yeah.
teams. But they brought their best for the playoffs. The Texans, they beat them.
There were a lot of questionable calls
They
in
were, and then
both
this
first
game,
round.
yeah, this game they brought their best. I think this game they really showed that they're like a Super Bowl caliber team, like that they deserve to win. Although there wasn't too much officiating calls in this game other than
Yeah,
the one, I
there
think, and
was
that's
that worthy catch where it looked like he got
yeah,
picked and then it hit
look,
the
yeah.
floor.
I thought
And
he had it,
also,
but like
when
yeah,
the Chiefs had a big punt return, there was like a lot of block in the back.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
so
then
those
yeah,
were the
the yeah, and
missed
then
calls,
the
and
weird one was that the one at the end where it was like if the Bills caught it, there was a flag like on the Kincaid like
yeah,
drop,
they
and then
did
they
throw a
picked it
flag
up, and
in
I
the
was like, was there pass interference?
yeah,
Like
exactly. They're
why'd
like,
they
there's
pick?
no penalty.
Yeah, so like if they caught it, like most people like they probably would have like called it on the like some sort of like holding that wasn't even there on the Bills, like just to give the Chiefs a win. Like I don't know, like that's people have frustrations, like rightfully so. Like this game, I think was relatively still like clean. I think they called a lot on the Chiefs, they called on the Bills. There's a
Yeah,
few questionable
I didn't have
calls here
like
and there,
many
but
problems with the refs, just a few that I listed.
I agree. I mean, I think there are some problems with the refs in this game. And this one wasn't too bad. There are a few things here and there that could have been like, I think the main one being the fourth down. Other than that, I don't think it was like that bad. There are a few things, but the last game against the Texans, there was like a lot. There's like the pass interference, or there's the roughing the passer, then there's
Hmm.
the unnecessary roughness where the defenders hit each other. That one was like left everyone with a really bad taste in their mouth. So then this game was almost kind of weirdly like relieving in a way, even though there was a little bit of like controversy, like one big play and like maybe a few smaller other ones. But anyway, I guess it's like the more things change, the more they stay the same. And the Chiefs end up going back to Super Bowl, knocking off the Bills again, even though probably a lot of people thought the Bills would probably win this year.
Me too.
Yeah, I know. Like, I really like genuinely thought like if there was a year for the Bills to break through, it'd be this one, because the Bills were like a little bit up. The Chiefs like even better than their usual selves. The Chiefs were like a little bit down, even though they have a better record. They've been winning games in the most ridiculous ways of all time, and it's just like like literally like at least like before like this season, like the Chiefs were actually like they were really dominant 2 years ago. They were pretty dominant last year, even though without the receiver they went through their struggles, but they went on the playoffs. They earned their win at Buffalo. They earned their win at Baltimore. Like say what you want, but this year has just been like fluky. And then, but in the playoffs, they like once again show that they're they're the playoff Mahomes, Kelsey. Um, this last game, I think they did a good job of incorporating their receivers, getting their guys
Definitely.
involved. I was happy to see that. It wasn't just the Mahomes scrambling and Kelsey show, although they could definitely do a lot of that as well. Their defense, like we saw how elite that was, but they really won a game that felt like the Chiefs of old, and not whatever this new thing is. So now, they go into this Eagles game confident that they can beat a good team, even like a Buffalo level team. They showed, I think they showed that they on both offense and defense that they can compete and they can win. Like they put a lot of good things there out there. on both sides of the ball that, they can get their playmakers involved, they can get the stops that they need to. They won like a heavyweight fight. So now the question is, against the Eagles,
Yeah,
what are we
nobody
looking
wanted
at?
this matchup.
What?
Nobody wanted this
Yeah, I
matchup.
know. I don't think anybody did. It's weird because I mean, like once I got over the initial shock of, or like not shock, like I think everyone expected the Eagles to beat the Commanders, and probably most people
Definitely.
expected, yeah. And then I think most people expected
Some
like
people had the Chiefs, of course, and then yeah,
others had the
I would
Bills,
say
but
Giants, Commanders, Cowboys, and Rams, Packers fans
right,
will be rooting for
rooting for the
the
Chiefs, yeah,
Chiefs since
rooting for
yeah,
the three-peat,
Eagles
yeah,
beat their teams and all that.
right.
Uh, Mostly everyone else will probably be against the Chiefs.
Yeah, and like yeah, I think everyone's tired of the Chiefs winning, and I think rightfully
Definitely.
so. So
Yeah.
yeah,
The only good thing about them winning is, like I said, though, Pacheco having the chance to win 3 Super Bowls in his first 3 years.
no,
That
that
would
would
be
be
the only
insane, dude. Like yeah,
yeah.
I'd be really happy,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, it's just like a lot can go on in this game.
Yeah. Depends on
It
who
could be a
comes
really
to
good one.
play and who properly executes.
Yeah, there's just so much to preview, and I think next week I might, whoever I'm doing this with, we'll go position by position. But I think it's gonna be a
Yeah, I
really
would
good
say
game.
Chiefs got it with the QB.
Yeah,
Running backs got to give it to Philly
Eagles.
probably. And then
Yeah,
wide receivers, it's kind of
Eagles,
tight.
or yeah,
Both
both.
teams
I
got
guess like the
solid,
Chiefs also
good
have
wide
better
receivers,
receivers
tight
this year.
ends.
Tight
Probably
ends,
the
but
Chiefs by just a little bit,
the
maybe.
Kelsey.
And
Yeah,
then Eagles got the O line, I would say, but the Chiefs O line is solid too.
right.
And then defense, yeah, maybe the Eagles defense since
Eagles
they come
all I
at
think
your
Eagles
face.
yeah, Eagles secondary, Eagles linebackers. Uh
Definitely.
maybe the front you maybe give to the Chiefs, I don't know, but the Eagles
Yeah,
defensive front is very good
with like
too.
Chris Jones.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like that's their strength too, like with the blitzing and everything, the pressure that they can put on Hurts. But I don't know. It's going to be a good game. I think what's different this year is the two defenses are better than they were in 22 last in 2022 and 23. We saw
Yeah,
38-35. I think this year we might end up with low scoring, but at the same time though, like the Eagles put 55 up against the Commanders. The Chiefs played their best offensive game of the season. They put 32 against Buffalo. You might look at that like a mismatch, like the Eagles are gonna like blow them out, but that's not the case because the Chiefs defense is like a heck of a lot better than even like Washington's. Like they know how to put pressure. I think the difference maker though that we didn't see 2 years ago is obviously like our former Giant, current Eagle Saquon Barkley. Like they have a game breaker. Like if he can break any pass or rush, he can like run. Yeah, whenever he touches the football, he can score a touchdown right on that one play. He could break it for 30. Like the Eagles have
yeah.
like a game a wrecker in
Saquon can
Saquon
do
Barkley.
anything. Yeah,
And on top of that, the area where the Chiefs struggle the most, I feel like, is run defense because like look what James Cook did to them, and I think Saquon Barkley is a lot even better than James Cook. He can juke people out. He can, you know what I mean. He's like what James Cook is
yeah.
plus even more than that. Like yeah, like he can juke people out. He can get open. He can break big runs. I think he's the biggest difference maker in the Super Bowl, and if he can get going. That yeah, I mean, if he can get going, that kind of opens up the room for the receivers. And we saw Jalen Hurts, find AJ Brown for the first time in a few weeks. He found Devontae Smith. Like they have Dallas Goedert. If they can if they can get the run game going and dominate on the ground, they'll open up room for them through the air too. And that's their key to winning is running the ball and shutting down the run. If they could stop the Chiefs from running the ball, like if they can kind of limit the Chiefs like the way the Bills kind of did in a way. Like if they could really like swallow up Kareem Hunt, Isaiah Pacheco, force the Chiefs in that they're in long situations, passing situations. The Chiefs still have like Travis Kelsey. They still have like receivers to get around that problem. But I just feel like if you put them in that situation enough times, like like I don't know if they can really like hold up. Like if they you know what I mean? Like that's what I think. If the Eagles could dominate the ground game on both sides, if they can run the ball, which opens up their ability to throw the ball. And then if they can limit the Chiefs' ability to run the ball, like they can win the game. Basically, if they make the Chiefs one dimensional, as good as the Chiefs can be through the air, they're gonna struggle, especially with how good the Eagles secondary is at covering. They're gonna force the Chiefs off the field, and if they can run the ball and open up aerial attack, I think they can win. But if the Chiefs, on the flip side, can kind of slow down Saquon Barkley, ball him up, force Jalen Hurts to throw the ball, I think they know how to put pressure in the right way. They're going to blitz. They're going to bring, they're going to if the Chiefs could kind of take the game away from Saquon Barkley and make the Eagles beat you through the air. Although they have good receivers, the Chiefs know how to bring the pressure. I think the Chiefs in that case will bring all the pressure to Hurts and basically get the Eagles off the field. And if they can kind of use all of their weapons, to kind of like complement their run game, if they have their run and pass open and they can stop the Eagles from running the football, I think the Chiefs win. But I think if Saquon Barkley starts taking over the game, starts having big
Yeah,
runs,
that'll be
the
a
Eagles
problem.
will feel confident. They're going to start throwing the ball. So I think Saquon Barkley is really the key, I think if he ends up establishing the Eagles run game and allowing them to pass while also like limiting the Chiefs run game, I think the Eagles win. But I think if the Chiefs can somehow slow down Saquon Barkley and put the pressure on
Yeah,
Jalen
that
Hurts,
would
I think
be
they have the
huge for them.
advantage. Yeah, so that's kind of like my early look at this game. I think Saquon Barkley, the big difference maker. I think if the Eagles can establish the line of scrimmage, as they say on both sides of the football, I think they have the talent to do it. I think the difference from now and 2 years ago is, Saquon Barkley. I mean, 2 years ago they had a really good offense, they had a really good defense, but so did the Chiefs. But now they have a game breaker. If they can utilize that, make the Eagles really good and two-dimensional, then it's going to be really hard for them to stop. But if Saquon Barkley is limited, then I think the Chiefs have a good chance at pulling that one out. Yeah, so should be a really good game. I mean, I like I said, I think Saquon Barkley is a big like key to the game. You could say like if he gets going, it's going to open up the Eagles, receivers. They're going to feel confident and they're going to put the pressure on the Chiefs to keep up with that, which they might not be able to. But if they can limit Saquon Barkley, put the pressure on Hurts, then I think the Chiefs will have the advantage. On the other side of the football, if the Chiefs can run the ball as well as pass the ball, obviously that goes well for them. If their run game gets slowed down and they have to pass the ball, the Eagles can get them off the field. But we'll see. It should be a heavyweight fight. I'm really looking forward to it. Obviously, like I'm rooting for Kansas City, but and then you got to consider that the refs might be like in on it, but I don't really think they like. I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully, it doesn't get decided on like one or two plays like the last one did. Like that was kind of a little unfortunate, but hopefully like they let them play a fair game. The turf won't be an issue. Like we don't have injuries. Like a lot of weird things happened that last Super Bowl. Like Mahomes rolled his ankle, but he was okay. But then the turf was bad, and then the refs, like that one call, even though James Bradbury admitted it, like hopefully like this time nothing like that happens, and like we just see I mean that last Super Bowl is a really good one. This one could even be a little bit better. I feel like both teams really really talented. But yeah, I think Saquon Barkley, the difference maker for the Eagles this time. I think that's going to be the key to the game. For if he gets going, Eagles likely win it. If he doesn't, Chiefs likely win it. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. I guess to end off this episode here, we could shift over to Rutgers basketball. I know they got a game tomorrow. I believe tomorrow.
Yeah, they're going to be at
Northwestern.
Northwestern 9 p.m. It's on a Big Ten network,
Big
I'm
Ten
pretty
Network.
sure.
Yeah, I'll be
Right now
watching.
they're 10-10, 3-6 in conference play, so not a
Right.
great season.
No,
Expectations have not been met at all.
no, not really. Yeah, no, things are going in the wrong direction again. It seemed like good. They beat Nebraska. Oh, they beat UCLA to stop a skid,
They
an
beat
ugly one.
UCLA, they beat Nebraska, but then
Right.
lost to
Lost to
Penn
Penn
State,
State.
lost to
Yeah.
Michigan State.
Yeah. Let's
Yeah.
talk about that game in the Garden though.
Yeah, I was there, had a pretty good seat, and we got off to a good start, but then Michigan State was like kind of running away with it, so they had a lead at halftime, and then yeah, we had our problems. Like first, it was just like fouls, defense, and we needed to be like more smarter on offense. And then second half, we were not smart on offense at all. Defense wasn't great, wasn't getting rebounds, the turnovers, free throws, like the usual problems. That's basically that was my seat for the game.
oh wow. That's nice. You're like right behind
Yeah,
the
I was close to like where the Knicks bench is usually
there. Yeah,
for their
that's
home
yeah.
games
It's pretty awesome that
behind the
you got to go.
behind the basket. Yeah,
Yeah, right under the basket. Yeah, no, it was a good game. It was fun to watch too. Like they played, they were kind of competitive-ish for a while, but they didn't really weren't able to pull it out. They fell behind a little bit too much. Like, obviously Igbole being injured like really
yeah,
hurts
he's
them.
out for the season.
Yeah, it's a rough injury. They don't have a lot of as it was. They didn't have a lot of center depth. Now they don't even have their main center.
Yeah,
Somerville, I really like. He's in that role. Like
I
he's
got to
good.
see him score the ball more if I'm being
Yeah,
for
and then
real.
they have Martini. Ace Bailey can play center a
Yeah,
little bit as
Zach
well.
Martini was not great at all
No, he
for
wasn't.
the
But
Michigan State game,
yeah,
and J
but
Mike wasn't that great.
right.
Dylan was still banged up from the
Yeah,
injury he
he
had.
didn't really play
So
much in the
it's
second half
best
at all.
to
So.
keep him out until he's good to go, just like it was best to keep him out when he had the flu.
Right, yeah, exactly, because he wasn't that effective with the flu either, and
Yeah.
yeah, I think kind of similar. But Jordan Durkak, we have to talk about him because
Yeah, he
he
looked
played one heck of a
better
game.
in the Michigan State game. Still made some bad decisions, but I would say he looked better. I got to see more of it from him, but
Yeah,
he's
because
just got to be smarter with what he does, honestly.
he sometimes he can be a little careless with the basketball, but in this game, like he was, I mean, 26 off the bench, for Jordan Durkak, 26, right? Yeah, 26 in 27 minutes. Not much, usually, typically not much of a 3-point shooter, although he can make a three. He made four of them in this game against Michigan State, 8 for 9 from the line. I mean, he had open shots and he hit them. He even pulled up from one. Like, I don't know,
Yeah,
maybe Madison
Durkheim, there
Square.
was like one time he was bringing the ball up. It looked like he traveled, and then he shot the three right away and it went in. So
Yeah, I
I
don't
don't
know.
know
Like
what
I
was
said,
that
like he's
ball.
not usually like a big 3-point shooter. Once in a while, maybe, but this game, like I don't know, maybe MSG like made him want to do like become like hit his open shots, become like that player. Maybe he was a Knicks fan growing. Like you never know, but like he had a one heck of a game. He maybe did that more in the NEC. He dominated. Like and he had 26. He had four threes in the paint. He did what he usually does as well. He got to the rim. He drew fouls. He got rebounds. I've always liked him because he's a scrappy player. He does all the little things right, and he can even prove that he can hit some shots too. And he had the game high 26. Ace
Oh,
Bailey
during
at
the
18
game.
as
Yeah,
well.
that's right.
Wait, what?
Yeah, Ace was making bad decisions in that game.
Yeah, he was also making some bad decisions. He had not too great of a day from the field. He was 4 for 17, 2 for 5 from three. He had that turnaround fadeaway shot, the signature one that he always does.
Yeah.
It's
And he had
crazy.
a good
Yeah,
shot in the beginning of the game.
yeah, 8 for 8 from the line, which is good because sometimes he misses those 7, 9 rebounds too. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It was like they fell too far behind. At the end of the game, it was a weird sequence because both teams were just
Yeah,
hitting
second
shots left
half, it
and
was
right.
like
It was
only a 2 point game,
kind
but
of
then, yeah,
bizarre.
Michigan State ran away with it because Rutgers went on like a streak without scoring, which is another one of their problems. When you can't score for some time, you're probably going to fall behind and can't come back to win.
Yeah, yeah, and they kind of almost did in a weird like way too, but like not really because they were like just both teams were just hitting like ridiculous shots like back and forth. So it's kind of like
Yeah,
a bizarre
that was
sequence at the end
towards
of
the
the game.
end. Wide open shots. It
Yeah,
just kept
the
going in.
defense were just giving them that to just like like let them bleed clock or something like that. But for Michigan State, I mean, they have a whole talented team like Jason Richardson at 20 from the bench. They have guys like Cohen Carr. They have Jeremy Fears. They have Jay Akins is really good. A lot of their starters didn't actually score a ton, but I mean that's a talented team. Like they're I think number 7 in the country. They're 17
Yeah,
and 2,
17-2,
8-0 in
undefeated
the
in
Big Ten.
conference play. Yeah,
Yeah, undefeated. So I mean, they're one of the top teams in the Big Ten. And in fact, they are the top team. And then Purdue, Michigan, Wisconsin, pretty good. I mean, Big Ten's probably going to get a handful of teams in the tournament.
definitely. Rutgers won't be one of them
I
because,
know it's
yeah,
unfortunate. Well,
it
right
is.
now, like I guess the thing for them is to try to make the Big Ten tournament because like the bottom three teams don't get into that. So
I thought it was the bottom four
oh,
teams.
bottom four maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was three. I don't know. But right now they're kind of like right on the border
Yeah,
of
but
that. So
tomorrow's game versus Northwestern's a huge one because Northwestern overall they're 12-8, but then they're also 3-6 in conference play, which Rutgers is also 3-6 in
right,
conference play.
yeah.
So winning that would be huge. But then you got Michigan coming up at home Saturday to start the month, but like, got to take it one game at a time.
Right, right, right. Yeah, exactly. One game at a time. Yeah, I mean that's kind of the spirit, like you got to get into the Big 10 tournament. You got to keep winning. A lot of season left.
Just win in advance. That's all it is.
Right. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So yeah, at Northwestern tomorrow, road game. Then they'll be home for game on Fox. Michigan against their two 7-footers. That should
Yeah,
be an interesting. Golden
Golden.
and
Who
Wolf.
saw
Yeah,
they won?
Denny Wolf.
Got you.
Yeah, that's gonna be tough with Rutgers, especially with their lack of size. Like now that I
Yeah,
think about
like
it.
Lathan got to make sure he doesn't get into foul
Foul
trouble.
trouble, yeah. And then ranked Illinois team come into town
Yeah,
on I think Wednesday is and then at Maryland on Super Bowl Sunday and so on and so forth. I don't want to get through the whole thing right now, but or then they got Iowa West Coast trip, Oregon, Washington, home versus USC, at Michigan, at Purdue, and then home versus Minnesota. But a lot more to play in the
we covered
season.
it all.
Probably like 2/3 down, 1/3 to go. But yeah, I think that pretty much sums it up.
Yeah, 11 games
SEC,
left.
yeah, 11 games. SEC's having good basketball season. Probably also going to get a lot of teams in the tournament. Duke, survived a scare from NC State. I was watching that one last night, but
Yeah,
with Cooper Flag and everything. But yeah, I mean, I think that pretty much sums us up here. So yeah, always great to have you. Well, definitely, see if we could do that again. If maybe not next
yeah.
week, in the next few weeks. But yeah, I mean
Thanks for
that's
having me on.
yeah, you're welcome. It's great to have you on and talk for everything from the conference championships to Super Bowl to Rutgers basketball. But next week, I'm planning to hopefully have one of my other friends on who's an Eagles fan. So we'll talk about the game. Also talk about some
Sounds
life
good.
stuff.
Not a
I want to bring
problem.
my just vibing series on back, which I haven't done in a while. But and also
Mm.
maybe some more position by position breakdowns. Week 2 of Super Bowl coverage. So it's always a fun time. But in
Yeah,
the
more
meantime.
people will get into covering the game like next week since it's not this
Exactly,
week.
yeah. But yeah,
Next
we'll
week.
do a full in-depth preview next week. Like today was kind of like
Yeah,
the intro to it. I think next week we'll really
just a
go
little
position by
something.
position. We'll really talk about the ins and outs, but I'm sure I'll be making the same points about Saquon Barkley again next week because I do think that's the big key to the game. But in the meantime, this has been episode 79 of Sports Vibe. Yeah, I'm your host, Arnav Sarkar, alongside Eliot, Katsnelson, and as always, we will see you next week.
Thanks for having me on. Have a good one. Take it
Yeah, you
easy.
too, man.
Peace.